In the world of automobiles, there are fast cars, there are luxurious cars, and then there are Bugattis. To utter the name is to conjure images of elegance, speed, and artistry combined in a way no other brand has quite managed. But a Bugatti is not just a machine. It is a moving sculpture, a piece of engineering brilliance wrapped in beauty, carrying with it over a century of innovation, triumph, and survival against the odds. The story begins not in the bustling factories of Detroit or the racing circuits of Italy, but in the mind of one man, Ettore Bugatti, an Italian-born visionary. Ettore dreamed not of making cars for the masses, but of crafting machines that blurred the line between engineering and art. To him, a car was more than transportation. It was a masterpiece, an extension of human imagination and precision. From its humble beginnings in 1909, Bugatti quickly became a name whispered with reverence in the racing world. Its cars weren't just fast, they were breathtakingly beautiful, built with attention to detail so meticulous that even bolts and engine parts were polished like jewelry. This was not industrial production. It was artistry on wheels. But like all legends, Bugatti's journey has been far from smooth. From the golden victories of the 1920s and 30s, through the dark clouds of war and economic collapse, to the company's rebirths under dreamers and giants like Romano Artiola and the Volkswagen Group, Bugatti has lived many lives. Each chapter reveals not just the story of a company, but of a philosophy, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Today, cars like the Veyron and Chiron stand as marvels of modern engineering, pushing the boundaries of what is possible on four wheels. Yet behind every modern hypercar lies the spirit of Ettore, the belief that cars can be works of art that move faster than the wind. This is the story of Bugatti, a story of dreams and disasters, victories and revivals, and, above all, a legacy that redefined what it means to build a car. Early years, 1909 to 1930, birth of a legend. The year was 1909, and the sleepy town of Molsheim in the Alsace region of France was about to witness the birth of a legend. Ettore Bugatti, a young Italian engineer with an artist's eye, established his company with one goal in mind: to build the most beautiful, technically advanced cars the world had ever seen. Unlike other manufacturers of his era, Ettore wasn't interested in making cars for the masses. Ford had the Model T, Peugeot and Fiat were working on practical automobiles for everyday people, but Bugatti was different. Ettore wanted to craft cars the way a sculptor works with marble, every curve deliberates, every detail a celebration of precision. The company's first success was the Type 13, a small but groundbreaking machine that would define Bugatti's future. At first glance, it didn't seem like a monster. It was compact, elegant, even delicate compared to the bulky cars of the time. But what set it apart was Ettore's genius in engineering. The Type 13 was incredibly lightweight, agile, and precise, qualities that gave it a huge advantage on the racetrack. In 1921, the Type 13 stunned the world at the Brescia Grand Prix in Italy. Competing against far larger and more powerful cars, Bugatti's small fleet dominated the race, taking the top 4 positions. From that day on, the Type 13 became known as the Brescia, a symbol of Bugatti's mastery of combining elegance with performance. This was the beginning of what would be known as Bugatti's golden age of racing. Through the 1920s, the company introduced a series of models that cemented its reputation. Type 35, the most successful racing car in history, with over 2,000 victories. Type 30 and Type 38, luxurious road cars that blended speed with refinement. Type 41, Royale, Ettore's audacious attempt to create the most luxurious car ever built. Each car wasn't just about power. Ettore's philosophy was simple yet revolutionary. Perfection is achieved when nothing more can be taken away. He designed engines with breathtaking simplicity and precision, often so reliable that they could withstand races without breakdowns. Even the smallest details, like the shape of the radiator grille or the polished aluminum of the wheels, carried Ettore's obsession with artistry. The 1920s were a dream decade for Bugatti. The Type 35 was unmatched. Its horseshoe-shaped radiator became iconic, its victories endless. At tracks across Europe, Bugattis, blue cars were almost untouchable, a blur of speed and elegance that left rivals in the dust. Owning a Bugatti became the ultimate status symbol, a declaration that won value, both engineering and beauty. Ettore wasn't just building cars, he was shaping an identity. Bugatti was not an industrial giant, but a boutique craftsman of speed. Each car was handmade, tailored, and infused with a spirit that reflected Ettore himself, a man of vision, precision, and unshakable pride. By the end of the 1920s, Bugatti wasn't just a car company, it was a cultural phenomenon. The world had begun to recognize that a Bugatti was more than transportation. It was art in motion, a mechanical symphony that spoke the language of elegance and speed, racing dominance in the golden age. If the 1910s and early 1920s established Bugatti's name, then the late 1920s and 1930s turned it into motoring royalty. This was the era when Bugatti ruled the racetracks, set records, and created cars that remain icons nearly a century later. At the heart of this dominance was the legendary Type 35. Introduced in 1924, it was Ettore, Bugatti's masterpiece, and to many historians, the greatest racing car ever built. It wasn't the most powerful machine of its time, but Ettore's genius lay in balance and precision. The Type 35 featured a lightweight chassis, advanced suspension, and an engine that delivered power with stunning reliability. Most importantly, it handled like no other car on the circuit. Between 1924 and 1930, the Type 35 recorded over 2,000 race victories, an achievement no other car has come close to replicating. From the Grand Prix of Lyon to the Targa Florio in Sicily, Bugatti dominated event after event. Drivers admired not just the speed, but the consistency. While rivals often broke down or overheated, the Type 35 just kept going lap after lap like a perfectly tuned instrument. Then came the Targa Florio, a brutal endurance race across the mountainous roads of Sicily. Bugatti cars, especially the Type 35, won the event 5 consecutive times from 1925 to 1929. These victories cemented Bugatti's reputation as the ultimate racing brand. In the words of one journalist, "At the time, where others bring machines, Bugatti brings art that wins, but racing was only part of the story." Ettore wanted Bugatti to be more than just a name on the racetrack. He wanted it to stand for luxury and prestige in everyday life. That vision gave birth to some of the most extraordinary road cars the world has ever seen. The most audacious of them all was the Type 41 Royale. Launched in 1927, the Royale wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Measuring over 21 feet long, with a massive 12.7-liter straight-8 engine, it was designed for kings, emperors, and industrial tycoons. Ettore believed only royalty should own this car, and he built it with that arrogance in mind. Only 6 Royales were ever made, and despite its limited sales, it became a symbol of automotive extravagance, an icon of an era when luxury had no limits. Meanwhile, the Type 57 emerged in the mid-1930s as a symbol of Bugatti's elegance on the road. Variants like the Type 57 Atlantic and Type 57 SC Atalante weren't just cars, they were rolling works of art. With their teardrop curves, flowing lines, and bold grilles, they looked like something out of a dream. Today, surviving examples of these models are considered among the most valuable and beautiful cars ever built, often fetching tens of millions at auctions. By the early 1930s, Bugatti had reached its peak. The company was winning races, building dream cars, and enjoying global recognition. Its trademark French racing blue became a color of dominance, and Ettore Bugatti's philosophy that cars could be both fast and beautiful seemed unstoppable. But the glory of the golden age was fragile. Clouds were forming on the horizon: economic depression, political upheaval, and a changing world that would soon test Bugatti in ways even Ettore could not have imagined. Challenges, depression, and war. By the early 1930s, Bugatti was at the top of the world. Its cars were winning races. Its designs were admired as rolling sculptures, and Ettore Bugatti had built a reputation as a man who could turn imagination into machinery. But history, as always, had other plans. The first storm was the Great Depression. The Wall Street crash of 1929 sent shockwaves through economies across the globe. Wealthy clients, the kind who could afford Bugattis, luxurious and exclusive creations, suddenly tightened their belts. Orders for extravagant cars like the Type 41 Royale dried up. Ettore had believed the Royale would be the ultimate status symbol, fit for kings and industrial magnates. Instead, during the Depression years, Bugatti couldn't even sell all 6 that were produced. Financial difficulties began to mount, but Ettore refused to compromise on his philosophy of perfection. Bugatti continued to build cars that were works of art, but as the world shifted toward practicality and affordability, the company's devotion to luxury and exclusivity became a burden. Then came the Second World War, and with it, chaos for the Bugatti family and their company. The Molsheim factory, once the birthplace of elegance and speed, was seized by German forces after France fell in 1940. Bugatti's production ground to a halt. The factory was repurposed, and Ettore, now in his late 50s, was forced to leave. The personal tragedy for Ettore Bugatti during these years was even greater. His beloved son, Jean Bugatti, had been poised to take over the family business. Jean was a gifted designer responsible for masterpieces like the Type 57 SC Atlantic and the Type 57 S Atalante. His vision promised a bright future for Bugatti. But in 1939, while testing a Type 57 racing car on a closed road, Jean Bugatti tragically lost his life at just 30 years old. Jean's death was a devastating blow. Ettore lost not just his son, but the heir to his legacy. It left a void in both the family and the company's direction. With the war raging, Bugatti's dreams seemed to fade into uncertainty. After the war, Ettore tried to rebuild, but things were never the same. France had changed, the automotive industry had changed, and Bugatti's once unshakable foundations seemed fragile. Ettore himself passed away in 1947, leaving behind a company struggling to survive. Without its visionary leader, the years that followed were marked by instability. Without Ettore or Jean, Bugatti lacked the leadership and innovation that had defined its golden years. Attempts to revive production with new models in the 1950s and 60s were modest at best, and compared to giants like Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz, and Jaguar, Bugatti seemed to be fading into history. The brand that had once dominated the racetrack and defined automotive artistry was now reduced to a shadow of its former self. For many, it looked as though Bugatti's story had come to an end, but legends, as history shows us, rarely die so easily. Post-war struggles and near collapse. The death of Ettore Bugatti in 1947 marked more than just the loss of a visionary. It marked the end of an era. Bugatti, once the pride of Molsheim and a symbol of beauty on wheels, now found itself without direction. The artistry that had defined the company didn't vanish overnight, but without Ettore or his brilliant son Jean, the brand was like a ship adrift with no captain. In the 1950s, the world of automobiles had shifted dramatically. Mass production had become the norm. Brands like Volkswagen, Fiat, and Renault were producing affordable, cars for the everyday driver, while at the top tier, Ferrari, Maserati, and Jaguar were, redefining luxury performance for a new generation. Celebrities and royalty were instantly drawn to it. Even Michael Schumacher, the legendary Formula One driver, owned an EB110. The car proved that Bugatti could still inspire awe, still break barriers, still capture imaginations. But while the EB110 was an engineering masterpiece, the world around it posed challenges. The early 1990s saw a global economic downturn, and supercars, especially ones with such a high price tag, became harder to sell. Despite the brilliance of the EB110, Bugatti was bleeding money. Artiola tried everything to keep the dream alive. He even expanded his ambitions, purchasing Lotus cars in 1993 to build a larger automotive empire. But the financial strain proved too great. By 1995, just 4 years after the EB110's debut, Bugatti was forced into bankruptcy once again. The Campo Galliano factory closed its doors, leaving behind the ghost of another dream. For many, it looked like Bugatti had failed a second time. Yet even in its collapse, the EB110 left a lasting mark. It showed that Bugatti could be more than a museum piece. It proved that the brand's DNA of speed, beauty, and innovation could survive in the modern world. Collectors today view the EB110 as a legend, a rare gem that kept the Bugatti flame burning, and this flame caught the attention of an even larger player, Volkswagen Group, led by Ferdinand Piëch. The stage was being set for Bugatti's most dramatic rebirth yet, Volkswagen Era and the birth of the Veyron. When Bugatti collapsed again in the mid-1990s, after the EB110 dream fell apart, most believed the story was finally over. Twice resurrected, twice gone. The brand was like a ghost of automotive history, admired, remembered, but no longer alive. But one man refused to let Bugatti fade. Ferdinand Piëch, the visionary head of the Volkswagen Group. Piëch was not just a businessman, he was a man obsessed with engineering feats. To him, Bugatti wasn't just another luxury brand, it was the ultimate challenge, the perfect canvas on which to prove Volkswagen's technological might. So, in 1998, Volkswagen officially acquired the rights to Bugatti. The dream was alive again, but this time the ambitions were bigger than ever before. Piëch didn't want to build just another sports car. He wanted something outrageous, something that would push the limits of what a car could be. His vision was clear: a car with 1,000 horsepower, a car that could reach over 400 kilometers per hour, 250 miles per hour, and yet one that could still be driven in comfort on normal roads. The project sounded impossible. No production car in history had ever achieved such numbers. But Bugatti had never been about the ordinary. After years of development, engineering headaches, and countless prototypes, the world finally met the car that would redefine the supercar forever, the Bugatti Veyron 16.4. Unveiled in 2005, the Veyron was a technological moonshot. At its heart was an 8.0-liter W16 engine with 4 turbochargers, producing a jaw-dropping 1,001 horsepower. The numbers were staggering: 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 2.5 seconds. A top speed of 253 miles per hour, 407 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest production car in the world. A design that combined futuristic curves with Bugatti's historic elegance. The Veyron wasn't just about speed, it was about proving that engineering could conquer the impossible. To keep the engine cool, it needed 10 radiators. At full throttle, it could drain its fuel tank in just 12 minutes. The tires had to be specially developed by Michelin to withstand the speeds. Everything about the car was extreme, obsessive, and utterly Bugatti. The world was stunned. The Veyron didn't just beat its rivals, it changed the definition of a hypercar. Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, suddenly, they all looked like they were playing catch-up. But the Veyron was also a paradox. Each car reportedly cost more to build than Bugatti sold it for, meaning Volkswagen lost millions on every unit. The Rimac partnership and Bugatti's future. By the 2020s, Bugatti had conquered the world of speed and luxury. The Veyron had shattered boundaries, the Chiron had rewritten history, and collectors treated every model as rolling artwork. But the automotive landscape was changing. Governments were tightening emissions laws, electric cars were gaining momentum, and the age of the internal combustion engine was entering its twilight. For Bugatti, whose identity was built around the thunder of a quad-turbocharged W16, the challenge was clear. How do you preserve a legacy of mechanical perfection in an electric future? The answer came in 2021, when Bugatti entered a historic partnership with Rimac. Automotive, the Croatian company founded by young visionary Mate Rimac. Rimac had stunned the world with its all-electric hypercars, the Concept 1 and the Nevera, proving that electric motors could deliver mind-bending speed and futuristic performance. The deal created Bugatti Rimac, a joint company where Rimac took a controlling share. But Volkswagen's Porsche division retained significant involvement. This move sent shockwaves through the automotive world. For the first time in over a century, Bugatti's destiny was being reshaped by a new generation. What made the partnership exciting was the blend of old and new. Bugatti brought with it over 110 years of heritage, design artistry, and prestige. Rimac brought cutting-edge electric technology, software mastery, and a daring vision of the future. Together, they promised to create hypercars that would honor Bugatti's past while leading the industry into a new age. For now, the Chiron and its special editions continue to represent the peak of Bugatti's combustion legacy. But the world is watching closely for what comes next. Rumors swirl about hybrid successors, or perhaps even fully electric Bugattis that will redefine what speed and luxury mean in the 21st century. One thing is certain: Bugatti will not abandon its core philosophy. Whether powered by gasoline, electricity, or something entirely new, every Bugatti must still embody art, innovation, and performance without compromise. From the elegant Type 35s that dominated racing in the 1920s, to the unreachable dream of the Royale, to the heartbreak of John Bugatti's death, to the EB110's brief flame, and then the rebirth through Veyron and Chiron. Bugatti's story has been one of rises, falls, and glorious comebacks. And now, with Rimac, the legend enters its newest chapter. The future Bugatti may not sound like the roaring W16, but it will still carry the same spirit: a car that is not just transportation, but a piece of living history and a vision of tomorrow. Because Bugatti is more than a car company, it is a myth in motion. And myths, as history has shown, never truly die. If you enjoyed this incredible story, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more epic automotive adventures. Your support keeps these stories alive.